Hello YouTube, this is my first video and it's going to be on the political compass because why not? Alright, let's see. First we have, if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. So if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. It's a really worded question, but we'll start by saying is inevitable. I don't like globalization though, so I don't want any globalization. But if it's inevitable, I don't know what should primarily serve humanity means. I guess I would strongly disagree because that sounds very commie to me. I'd always support my country, whether it was right or wrong. I will have to disagree on this one. I am very patriotic and love the United States of America, but if it were to violate any of my God-given rights, then I would quickly stand against that. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Strongly disagree. I can be proud of plenty of things that I did not necessarily choose initially to be a part of, but I do actively participate in my country. I live here. It's influenced me and made me who I am, so why not? Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Our race has many superior qualities. I am not a supremacist of any sort, so I would disagree. Am I a race realist? Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by race realist. There are some things I prefer about my ethnicity rather than race, but in and of itself I wouldn't say it has many superior qualities. Maybe just some. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's absolutely not true. I can have many enemies and none of them be my friends. Let's see. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. I will have to strongly agree because international law is completely retarded. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Why would I be against this? I see no reason why I should be against this. Now the economy. Okay, I didn't see that on the first page. We're talking attitudes here, not the FTSE index. Okay, so economic questions. This is where it starts to get more interesting. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. No. People are divided by lots of things. Tribalism is very prominent in us, the human species. I'll have to strongly disagree. Or if people were divided more by class than by nationality, I guess the workers of the world would already have united. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I don't want to control inflation. I don't want unemployment controlled either. None of these things are very important to me. I guess I'll just say strongly disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I agree. Now, I agree in one regard only, and that is, I guess some people describe it as externalities. I would simply say that there are certain regards. There are certain instances where we need to say, hey, this action is wrong. Something like polluting water sources, right? These things we can say you cannot do these certain actions, but this is not in general. I'm not in general favor of regulation. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is fundamentally a good idea. Or is a fundamentally good idea? No. Absolutely not. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Let me grab my water bottle real quick. No, I don't care about this one bit. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Land shouldn't be a commodity? Why not? Strongly disagree with that. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Nobody contributes nothing if they're making money and investing it. So I will strongly disagree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. See, this is an interesting question, but I will say that I am in general against protectionism because protectionism tends not to last. There will eventually be somebody who comes around and decides to open up trade, and when those protections on the economy come down, it generally hurts local businesses. So I will have to disagree that. I'll have to strongly disagree. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Yeah, I would agree. I think that a company's responsibility is to the people it's beholden to. And so in that regard, it's the customer, and the people who invested their money into the company. The rich are too highly taxed. I will strongly agree. I am for lower taxes all around, and yes, if we lower the taxes on the rich, we get a more prosperous economy, in my opinion. But we also need to start reducing the funds of the government because they are too big now. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Of course. You pay for what you get. I see no problem with this. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's see, do I strongly agree or agree on? I guess it depends on what it is. I'll strongly agree, but in general, I believe that a company that's caught fraudulently or advertising in a fraudulent manner, something that'd be okay in my opinion. That'd be good. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. I don't believe that monopolies are sustainable. Everything that I've seen so far from history shows that monopolies cannot occur. I don't know that there's been ever a 100% monopoly, but any that have gotten close did not stay there for very long, even without the interference of the government. The freer the market, the freer the people. This depends on your word freedom, I guess, but to a certain degree, yes, I would have to say strongly agree. Now look at some of your personal social values. Here is where I'm going to disagree with a lot of the libertarians, I guess. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly agree. Yes. I am pro-life. The right to the life of the unborn child, or fetus, whatever you would call it. All authority should be questioned. Questioned? We shouldn't just give them a free pass if that's what it's saying. Of course, we should always be keeping our authority figures in check. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. I don't know what they are trying to imply with this. Are they simply implying retribution? Because from the original biblical context, it was justice. It was to promote fair payment for crimes committed. You don't make someone suffer an exorbitant amount. What would that be? I guess excessive punishment. So, but is that what they're trying to say here? I'll go with the original biblical context and say yes. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Yeah, I don't see any reason why I should keep up theaters and museums. Well, I guess I'll just agree, not strongly agree. I have no problem with a certain amount if it's important cultural aspects that the society or the community wants to maintain. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Does that mean like if they miss a few days that they're going to be strongly penalized? I think that's a bit much, but should children be required to go to school? I feel like this is going too much into public schools, and as someone who is homeschooled, I will guess I'll just strongly disagree. Or disagree, why not? Just disagree. I don't care for the public school system and want it abolished. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. No. Strongly disagree. I don't see why people should keep to their own kind. Of course, I am perfectly okay with freedom of association, or I believe in freedom of association. So people shouldn't be forced to associate with anyone they choose not to associate with. But to say they should keep with their own kind, well, that's putting, I don't know, that's putting an emphasis on something that I think is of no importance. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Yeah, strongly agree, not disagree, strongly agree. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Natural? Well, it's natural for kids to do all sorts of wrong, vile, wicked behaviors, so yeah, sure, why not? Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Strongly disagree. I am in favor of getting rid of drugs and alcohol in totality. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generations to find jobs. Yeah, I believe that is the function of schooling. Well, I guess I'll just agree. It should be the majority of higher education focus. As you are going through the lower education, there's more stuff to do with teaching kids about the culture and just to be good, all around good citizens, I guess. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree. I don't believe we should be, well, that would be a eugenics, I guess. I'm not in favor of it. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. The most important thing? No, I wouldn't say it's the most important thing. There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Strongly disagree. And if you really believe there are only different cultures, then just look up Sargon's "All Cultures Are Beautiful" or something like that. Those who are able to work refuse the opportunity. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Strongly agree. We need to get leeches off of welfare. When you are troubled, it is better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. What? Disagree, I guess. There's a time and a place for not focusing on what's stressing you out, but there's time and a place for it as well. Or for focusing on your stress, I guess, yeah. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Never be fully integrated? Yeah, I guess I would strongly agree with that. You can never fully integrate your first generation, but second generation and third generation, that's possible. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree. I don't think that the good of the corporation, or that corporations are supposed to be looking out for the good of everybody, but I don't think that people should be... A corporation has a job, and its job is to provide its service. And that service could be good or bad, but it ultimately is just a service. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content should receive public funding. Agree? No broadcast. I don't want publicly funded broadcasting, but it's not necessarily something I'm very keen on getting rid of. I could see a time and a place for it. And how you see the wider society. Alright. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Yeah, I would strongly agree with that. In some ways, it has gone way too far. I think everyone would mostly agree with this now. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I wouldn't call that an advantage, but it's certainly a thing. No, I strongly disagree. I don't want a single-party state. I don't think that getting things done is automatically a good thing. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree. There are serious problems going on in our current society because of surveillance. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly agree. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. No, I guess. What is this? You can't. There's someone obviously on the bottom and someone obviously on the top. You're always going to have hierarchies no matter what. You can't get rid of hierarchies. Because our human nature demands it. But there's going to be I guess if we just look at it from a hierarchy perspective, yeah, there's always going to be hierarchies. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Yeah, I strongly agree. Well, you can create art out of abstract stuff. So I guess I'll just agree. No, I'll strongly agree. I know what they're trying to imply with it. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Yeah, I agree with that. Do I strongly agree with that though? Let's see. How successful is rehabilitation? I haven't looked into this, I guess. Is it the job of the state to rehabilitate people? No, I don't think that it is the job of the state to do that. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Obviously. It's obvious that some people are not beyond redemption per se, but there's some people who either are fundamentally broken or just I guess the proper word would be set in their ways. You can't convince someone to not be a criminal. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. No. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist? Depends on what perspective are we talking about. Are we talking about just from a market perspective? Then yes. Are we talking about just cultural perspective? Then no, the business person and the manufacturer aren't more important than the writer and the artist. I guess in general I would agree. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Well, since it's a mother, yes, obviously. The mother's first responsibility is to her family. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resource of developing countries. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I'm sure some of them are behaving in unethical practices. Is this something that's very important to me? Not really. Mostly disagree, or somewhat disagree, I guess. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. What does making peace mean? Making peace doesn't mean anything to me. It's an important aspect of maturity to make peace with the establishment. I guess if we're talking about from a rebellious perspective, the rebellious teenage years, I guess. I will have to agree. Sure, why not? And if you got through that okay, you'll find these propositions on religion a breeze. Astrology can accurately explain many things. Strongly disagree. It's complete baloney. Bogus. You cannot be moral without being religious. You cannot be moral. I mean, you can have moral actions and follow moral actions without being religious. Yeah, I strongly agree. Or, I strongly disagree, I guess. Well, no, I'll just disagree. Because you can be moral without being religious, but it's not. But a lot of people aren't as moral. The irreligious people tend to be less moral. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. The welfare state is awful and has terrible perverse incentives. Some people are naturally unlucky. I don't know that I'm a person who adheres to the idea of luck, but some people have worse states of being or put into worse circumstances than others, I guess. I guess disagree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. That my children will all be homeschooled, so they will be getting my Christian values. So yeah, strongly agree. Finally, a look at sex. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. Usually? Always. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. I strongly disagree. I don't believe same-sex marriages are good for the children. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. I am in favor of banning abortion, so no. Ideally, at least. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I am against sodomy, so strongly disagree. No one can feel naturally homosexual. Strongly disagree. We are all in a fallen state. Some people obviously have a inclination towards such behaviors. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Absolutely. Now let's see where you stand. Alright, let's go down. Yes, yes. Wow. Last time I took this test, I was probably right about over here. I have apparently moved farther right on the economic scale, and about the same on the libertarian authoritarian. Let's see what does it say. Apparently I'm a neo, or I don't know. It doesn't say, I guess, exactly what I am. Whatever. That is my political compass test results. How very interesting.